Don't forget to like and subscribe. For more information, check out the Gate Expectations podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, and Spotify. Welcome, everybody, to the Gate Expectations podcast, where I bring in a weekly guest, talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh!, and get to know a little more about each person I talk to. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast that is run by a full-fledged journalist such as myself. This is episode 27. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check out earlier podcasts with guests like Stephen Trivanowski, Jesse Cotton, Team Samurai X1, Farfa, Crush Cards, Simo, and many more. My guest for this week is a Yu-Gi tuber with almost 20,000 subscribers. He is the man who makes us laugh at the game that we love, and he is known for making a ton of funny skits and shorts on his YouTube channel. It's Milano Fethu, a.k.a. Milano the Duelist. Man, Milano, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bowie. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course, man. Absolutely, bro. And yeah, I've watched a lot of your videos as of late because I'm sub to you too, man. And holy heck, when I look through all these videos, I laugh my ass off just because we can relate to pretty much every single thing that you've put on your channel. I always laugh because I always think back. It's yep, that's happened to me before. Yep, that's happened. Exactly.
I can guarantee you almost everything I made a video of is has taken place before. It's something specifically I can kind of relate to, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it kind of makes it enjoyable where it's you watch this video and you're like, oh, that's literally me, you know? I relate to this.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players have those silly moments, you know, and you know, I thought I kind of brought lots of people say that I brought back Yu-Gi-Oh vines. That was really Yu-Gi-Oh. That was really fun. I used to enjoy those a lot when people Asian Eyes and Ryan Nisker, for example, he's also from Toronto.
Yep.
Used to make those. They were really funny. I enjoyed them. So I just, you know, I thought it was a funny way to you know what I'm saying, express myself in the community, and yeah.
And it's really funny too because Yu-Gi-Oh vines were so funny way back then. I remember watching them a whole bunch, and then now you've kind of picked up the ball where it kind of dropped a little bit because you don't see a whole lot of that now, and you're just and you put it in it's very short, so that way we can just look at it and just kind of get a quick laugh out of it because attention spans may not be the greatest for everybody, man. But it's short, sweet, straight to the point, and I just laugh my ass off. Especially one of my favorite videos that you did was when Yu-Gi-Oh players tried playing chess. Man, that one had me laughing my ass off greatly, man. So to start, man, what came with the idea of making all these videos?
So it all started off with, it was 2015 on Zodiac Duelist. 2015? Yeah, it was 2015. Mm-hmm. On Zodiac Duelist when the ban list dropped, and pretty much this was the ban list that pantheism got banned.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be funny if I burned my pantheism. I burned it and took a picture of it and posted it on Zodiac. Mm-hmm. And that got around 500 likes and stuff like that. And that was my first kind of what is it? It was my first inspiration to continue just interacting, you know what I'm saying? Kind of posting stuff and just kind of you know what I'm saying? I still have the pantheism in my binder, and it was in one of Lithium's videos. One of my cousins messaged me, he's like, yo, your pantheism is in Lithium's video. I'm like, what? And as a kid, that was so crazy. I was 15, 16, that was crazy to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so ever since that, you know what I'm saying? I always had this kind of interest in the opinions of others on what I'm willing to kind of provide in terms of even a meme that I would consider a meme, right?
Yeah.
So when it first actually started on YouTube, I was in the shower and I was just showering and I thought of this really funny video. I'm like, yo, I seen this one video where it's when actually I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but it's just it was a funny video. It's nothing wrong, but I just don't know if the term is hey, but so it was a funny video, and I kind of got inspired by it. So I kind of made the called by video. So in same whatchamacallit, that same day, I was showering, had that idea. I didn't really think I'm gonna do it until I put my phone against the wall vertically, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever, I'm just gonna do it. I did attempt. I look over it, I'm like, that's pretty funny. I just like just like quickly like sailed through my nose a little bit. I sent it to my group chats because I like to like I have a few group chats I keep in contact with. Like shout out to the 4-1 boys, shout out to the GN mans. So I sent it to my group chats and they're like, yo, this is actually pretty funny. Yo, you should definitely like either post it on YouTube or post it on Facebook or like on Zodiac. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, post it on Zodiac. Posted on Zodiac, got like 900 reacts and like lots of comments, lots of top players like commenting, you know what I'm saying? I found that lots of people related to it and lots of people enjoyed it. And when I refreshed my phone in the morning the next day, when that number jumped from like 400 or 500 to like 900, that's when I'm like, wow, like people actually really enjoyed this. And so ever since that, I kind of like posted a few videos to Zodiac and they all saw like I saw lots of people enjoying them. You know, and then sorry, do you have something to say?
No, keep going, man. When you're done,
so I posted a bunch of videos of Zodiac. Lots of people found it like really funny, and a few people, specifically this one guy named Anthony. He's like the most memorable one. He said, "Bro, make a YouTube channel." And I'm like, "All right, man, shit, I'll make a YouTube channel." So at first it was Sawa the Duelist. Sawa is kind of my I don't want to call it my street name, but it's kind of a nickname because Sawa in Chaldean means old man. And my cousin gave me that name when I started growing white hair. So I went by Sawa the Duelist. I posted all the videos I had on Facebook, like that I posted on Zodiac before, and they got a few hundred views, but still, you know, I wasn't like super incentivized to like continue until like, I don't know, I had a really good idea. It was how Yu-Gi-Oh players react to Numeron. That video was like, I think when things started to really pop off, like I remember seeing that video hitting 5,000 views and I'm like, wow, like lots of people saw this video, lots of people, you know, over the days, and it got 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, this all the positivity, especially in the point of my life where this was going on, it's like, it wasn't too crazy for me. But with all this positivity that people were sending my way and just seeing people smile, like really enjoy what I was able to provide for them, it really like incentivized me to continue. And ever since, you know, I've been just like anytime I really have like a funny idea or someone just says, you know what would be funny? This. And then I just kind of build off of that, you know,
Yeah, well, when you look at all your videos, man, like every single one is nothing short of at least 10,000 views on all your videos. So, and this is the kind of stuff that people love, because when you post it on like Zodiac Duelist, for example, there's a lot of like crap posting that goes on that place. Like it's all there is. There's a lot of memes, there's a lot of jokes, and there's a lot of like burns on a lot of roasts on other people, and that's what it is. So it was kind of like the perfect outlet for you to kind of put those kind of videos in there, and people really draw to that because, you know, we all like to laugh at the game that we love. We just like to laugh at like a lot of things. You know,
of course.
That's just what it is. Like we live in a world where like memes kind of rule like the internet right now, and you know your whole YouTube channel is kind of like one huge like meme, or it's like a bunch of little memes that are just funny to just kind of go through, but it's all relatable and it's all true in a sense. That's I think why so many of us like love your videos, because it really relates to like we've all had that experience before, man. And that's why I love your videos, because not only is it funny, because it's like, yep, I can look at it every time I look at it, like, yep, I've had that happen before. Yep, I had that happen before. It's like, man, because it hits close to home to me, and I think that's what it does for everyone else. Is why your channel is so popular right now.
Yeah, well, all things said, thank you so much for all the kind compliments. You know, I think like a big influence on how my videos were like produced and like actually like made, where like a big inspiration to that was like the Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh culture, because pretty much like Yu-Gi-Oh culture was like a real thing back then, where everyone would have calculator cases, you know, how would have nice mats, you know, it was really about the drip back then. Now it's like lots of people have like their like, and this may seem like super unrelated, but even like hand shuffling, that's a big part of Yu-Gi-Oh culture. Yeah. Like when I make these videos, like I want to envision a Yu-Gi-Oh player. And to me, the coolest type of Yu-Gi-Oh players were these Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh players that I was playing with back at Card Masters when I was like just a little kid, you know? I remember I remember my first tournament. I was like, I think I was 10 years old. It was at the old Cardmasters location, the first one. I didn't go there too frequently, but like, cause I was so young at the time, I would have to go. Like, my mom would have to drive us. Everyone's busy, but I remember I played this guy. His name was Aaron, and he had the upper deck mat, the mat that I have now, which like I acquired because like this is my favorite part of like Yu-Gi-Oh culture. Like, this is what that like when I got destroyed by his Thunder King, like it truly like opened my eyes in terms of like, wow, this guy's like the coolest Yu-Gi-Oh player ever. I want that mat. His sleeves are cool. You know, like the way that he moves these cards in his hand, like I'm inspired by this. As weird as this sounds, like I don't know. I think that having this like this drive for it really felt like a culture back then, you know? Like it really felt like a culture.
Yeah, I agree with you in that sense because, you know, like I carry a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh tendencies over into like other games that I play. Like I play a little bit of chess myself too. So when I'm like going through my moves, I would like kind of move my finger around, like if I do this and this,
like
this,
twiddling it.
Yeah, twiddling it, or like kind of moving in the direction, kind of like when you're on a play mat, and you're like kind of pointing to your own card stand, like, all right, if I do this, I think I can do this. You know, it's thinking aloud. And if I play any other like board game that has cards in my hand, like I'm gonna shuffle it normally. I'm like, and people are like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you shuffling?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man. This is a Yu-Gi-Oh tendency that I do like all the time in Yu-Gi-Oh. It just happens to happen. Like, and if I play with like dice or something, I'll kind of like fiddle around with it, or like kind of roll it for fun and be like, yeah, like while I'm waiting for my turn to go. It's funny how
these small things are stuck to us.
Yeah,
these small things are so stuck to us. I remember in high school, like I'm pretty much like I live in Vaughan. Like lots of the population here is Italian, and a game we used to play during lunch. It's called Brisk. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's like this card game. It's an Italian card game that old Italian men play. But every time I would just hold the cards, I'm hand shuffling, you know? Like at this point, lots of my friends didn't even know I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Only like my close friends. It's just because I wasn't like talking about it and, you know, like just telling everybody. But I'm hand shuffling these cards. Everyone's looking like, what are you doing with your cards? Why are you doing that? It's like, I don't know. I can't hold rectangular pieces of anything without using my agility strategies in order to swiftly move across the cards from one hand to another, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like there's nothing really like that.
Yeah, it's not just limited to Yu-Gi-Oh either. It's like when you see poker players, when they play, they're always like maybe holding a bunch of chips and they're kind of like and, like switching the chips back and forth. You know, that's their own tendency. And then like you might do that with like dice or something. You might just kind of like roll it around in your hand without touching each other, kind of like those medicine, like those tiny little medicine balls that you're not supposed to like click together when they're in your hand. It's you get those funny little motions that happen, man. And you know, every game has their own, but it's just funny to bring it into like an audience that has no idea what you're doing or like believe that's normal in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I get so many comments of, oh my gosh, this guy's hand shuffling is so annoying. Why is he hand shuffling? What is that? Why is he moving the cards like that? It's very annoying. It's very, you know what I mean? Like lots, and every I usually don't reply. I just heart all my comments. Like I read every single comment of mine. Yeah. But so I just heart the comment usually. But if I do reply, usually I say, if you've ever watched poker, like, are you gonna tell the poker players to like stop moving their chips? Like that's the exact reference I make because they're always like riffling them all together, you know?
Yeah, that's true. They're whole. You know, you don't ever say that. You know, they're more. You know, really, what it comes down to is that, like, you know, are you going to win or not? That's what it mostly boils down to. Like, people don't care, like, what kind of tendencies you do. Like, even in sports, like, everyone has their own little superstition where it's like, it sounds weird, but if something good happens to your team when you do it, like, they don't stop. They always keep doing the same stuff over and over again, even though it looks weird and it feels weird. But you know, it's weird little superstition. Yeah, that's the philosophy of it all. If for some reason it works, like people do it. Like we've seen so many like beer commercials that like involve sports that involve that as well. And you know, it's, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own like maybe like a lucky die or like a lucky card that they bring with them or something like that. There's like some kind of superstition that kind of falls around, and this like, and your videos, they kind of fall into that little superstition, that little thing that everyone just likes to do just for themselves.
Mm-hmm. See, when you watch my videos and you see me hand shuffling, and I really try to convince the watcher that I'm like playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Like I'm doing the Yu-Gi-Oh things. Like I'm, you know, looking around like their cards, I'm hand shuffling, I'm, you know, thinking. I'm actually like I'm displaying this Yu-Gi-Oh culture. You know, I'm trying to show it. You know what really happens. This is what it's like.
Mm-hmm. And it really is too, because again, like everything you do on your videos is absolutely relatable to every single thing that we've seen in tournaments, just our locals, even between friends. Yeah, and it's kind of hard now with remote duels, because I'm also one of those hand shufflers that always have to shuffle the hand, and you're not, and they like discouraging it in the policy documents. So every time like I do it, I'm like, shoot, I'm not supposed to do that. Like I always have to put my cards down because like I got to fiddle with something. Like I don't have a fidget spinner or anything, but I have to like.
Yeah, you gotta move somehow. I think it strongly has to do like with like I'm not gonna like I wasn't like diagnosed with ADHD, but I definitely feel like I have lots of traits that like tie along with that. Yeah. So like I'm hand shuffling cards right now. I need to put those down. So yeah, it's just like I need to move my cards. I've been holding these cards for like 12 years of my life, you know, like on and off, obviously, but like this is all I know. I can't hold 5 cards in my hand unless they're Dragon Shields and not power shuffle. I mean, and not hand shuffle.
Yeah, because it's just that we're so used to it now because we've incorporated like Yu-Gi-Oh almost into our daily lives that like it just feels natural that we just got like cards in our hand, and you know if we got something else that are in our hands that we're just kind of like fiddling with or something, we kind of might like treat it the same way. Like if I carry like a little book, for example, I just kind of like flip through it. I might like cringe the top of it here and there. It's just funny how like you can do the same movements with like a Yu-Gi-Oh card and do with anything else.
There's a lot of things that like you can take from Yu-Gi-Oh and like actually apply it. You know, like I would say like I used to be like a pretty like hardcore gamer. Oh, not hardcore, but like I used to be like I'm very good at like a lot of fighting games. I played a lot of fighting games growing up, and there's lots of like for example in Yu-Gi-Oh, like my favorite format to play is plant format. Yep. Like everyone like in Toronto would know me. Like if you guys want to play plants, like I'm ready to play plants. Like things that I learned from Yu-Gi-Oh, like resource management, like truly like building strategies is like something that I could apply to my like daily life. It's crazy.
Yeah, and an example for me that I do that is in like when I play like a lot of other board games, especially like resource management games, because there's a whole ton of them out there. It's like I apply kind of like the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh to those games. Like for example, like there's this card game called Dominion, it's a deck building game, and I know that like I want to keep like drawing cards, keep cycling through, keep the deck as short as possible. Like I can apply those like same Yu-Gi-Oh principles that I can to like this card, to this like this one popular card game that's out there. And you know, I usually come out like either like first or second every time I play it. So it's just funny how much practicality, like the skills that Yu-Gi-Oh can bring like in the game over into like anything else that you do.
Honestly, that's totally. Do you ever say think like out loud when you're thinking? Like I'll just be like my friend will tell me, "Yo, are you down to like do this?" And I'll be like, think," without even thinking about what I'm trying to say. Think, like you know when I'm like just trying to like really think about my thoughts. Like I actually say think out loud. It's like really like weird habit, but you know that's also something I gained from you. I gained a lot of bad habits.
I mean, I've had that before too. If people ask me a question, I'm like, I might like take a pause and think, because you know I was trained in journalism where if you're thinking about something, you don't go like you know, kind of sounds pretty bad. You just like be dead silent.
You just speak.
Think.
Just
think and just go. And then when you get that dead silence, it's like, oh, sorry, I'm thinking for a second. Give me a minute. And then there's that dead silence. It's a lot better than going, But yeah, I've done that too. And that's where I go with Yu-Gi-Oh as well. When people go and make a move, I go like, wait a minute. And if it goes long, it's like thinking, give me a sec. You know, and that just happens. And I do that in real life too, where I have to come up with like a bigger decision, or if I've got to think about it, that's what I do. And it's funny how you get those weird little cadences and weird little things that happen, the tendencies. But we've incorporated Yu-Gi-Oh now into our daily lives. And it's kind of funny just looking back, and if you take a step back and look at it, it's like, man, we're really weird.
Yeah, we are some weird people, right? Yeah. Like some of my greatest friends in this community, like I gotta say, like, you know, no offense to them, because they all know I love them so much, but we're all a bunch of weirdos.
Yes.
We're all a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, definitely me too, man. So I'm with you on that one. But man, I know you're like pretty tight with the Toronto community as well, and like Toronto is like really rich with a lot of big figures. You know, like we got Triff, for example. We got Jesse Cotton, like Gabe Vargas, for example. We've got a ton of like
Sam,
big
oh
names.
man,
Yeah,
the list
Sam,
goes on.
exactly.
The list
The
goes
list keeps
on.
going on and on.
Toronto
We got
is
a big
all,
big list of it.
Toronto is all, in my opinion, all time like the best region for Yu-Gi-Oh. Like
It, yeah. Meta here is tough. It's not easy topping a regional here for one thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you go to a or even like a GN locals. The thing is like what really like I think made me a lot better is like playing in Game Nation locals was literally a small regional because I'm sitting in the same room as Ryan Yu, as Dylan Fricker, you know what I'm saying, Abdul Razak, as Knock, as you know what I'm saying. These guys have Nats tops. Ryan's won worlds. You know what I'm saying. I'm in an environment where you know what I'm saying. I'm lucky enough to see Jesse Khan, have conversations with Jesse Khan. You know, like all these people that are like, at one point or another, they were dominant. You know, they really drove what the game like was at their time, and I would say I had that time as well.
Yeah, and their skill level, and when you pick their brain, it really rubs off on you. Like you start to get like much better in your own eyes, and like a lot better in like the competitive scene when you go to like such like a super saturated area of like really skilled players. I mean, for example, when I would back in like the early like 2000s, a bunch of friends and I, after we played our locals, we would go to Cardmasters, like their newer location that was on like Yonge Street, and we would go play their local, just play their locals, like nothing special, just a local. But we would go there because we wanted extra competition because we would beat our locals, but it's like, all right, we want more. My locals at that time, it was called Jeff's Cards and Comics because I'm located in Peterborough, so I'm like an hour and a half north of, I guess like you're in Vaughan, so I guess maybe like an hour 15 like east of you, because you're like in northern Toronto. That's where you are. Yeah. So we drive like 90 minutes there just for like a 4-hour local, and then drive 90 minutes home just because we know that Toronto is like is a hugely competitive area. Like this is when like Dale, Lazaro, Matt Bolito were there, like Matt Peddle was there, for example. Like we'd play against like some of the best players in the world just like in Toronto, and they would help like hone our skills.
Those guys like are, without saying, like Yu-Gi-Oh legends, you know what I mean? When like it's crazy because like you may think like, I'm not saying you may think, but how do I want to go about saying this? It's like being around people that are like actually like very like skilled at the game has a huge impact on how skillful of a player you become. Like in terms of even like deck building, in terms of technical play, in terms of like anything. Like I remember anytime I would like play against Ryan and I made a misplay, like he would make me feel like such an idiot about it. And I did feel like an idiot, rightfully so. And that's what got me better, like being around these players that like you got to really acknowledge that they are better than you, like these guys are like they're talented at this game.
Yeah. And you really can't put your ego first in this case, because that like, I'm not the best. I'm not the best player in the world. Definitely not. And there's someone who's going to be out there that's better than me, which I can accept. The thing is that, can you learn from them, and can you like make yourself better because of it? And, if you put that ego aside, like you can really improve your game, like big time. And like, I know that you yourself, that you're like a really good player in your own right. I remember you topped the regionals at, November 30th regionals, that like that ill-fated
during
regional,
my
and, like,
format,
everybody knew. Yeah. Because I believe you're the one who, I keep hearing it. I want to make sure that I got it right, but you're
I made the deck. I'm 100. I'm saying like there's still non-believers. However, I'm gonna like say 100% flat. I am without a doubt 100% the only reason Sky Orcust was a deck that format.
Yeah, because I remember seeing a whole bunch of stuff online saying that you were the one who made the deck. I'm like, oh, Milano made that.
I like bragging about it. I like bragging about it, because I feel like the thing is, when Engage was $100, I was just getting back into the game. Like this was like Gookie format. Like I was just getting back into the game again because I took lots of like on and off breaks. Like I ended at like the beginning of Link format, and like it was just like life kind of has its way of taking you out of the things you love. But when like when Sky, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, when Engage was like $100, $110 card, I read that card and I'm like, yo, I'll play this in anything. I'll play this in anything. I told all my friends, guys, like why like if you guys have this card, why aren't you playing it in everything? Like there's Salamangreat lists I made with Engage. There's you know what I'm saying, Burning Abyss lists that I made with Engage, like on DB, just because I didn't have it at the time, and I'm not like out here dropping $100 on Yu-Gi-Oh cards at the time. So, do you want to hear the Sky Orcust story, like how it like I guess like all started? All right, so it all started with me playing Burning Abyss. I love Burning Abyss. That was like my first like meta deck, I would say. When I was playing, like I didn't pick it up like around Duelist Alliance because Dante's were like 100 something. They
were a lot.
They were very expensive. But like by the time Premium Gold came out, like right before that, I remember I was able to get like a pretty good deal on a core, and you know what I'm saying? I ended up playing that, and that I ended up like falling in love with that deck. That's like one of the only decks that I ended up keeping through me quitting the game and coming back multiple times. But so I love Burning Abyss, and you know this new Orcust deck came out, and I'm like, yo, these cards are pretty cool. So I was playing like a Burning Abyss Orcust deck, which was actually like really good. Like I pretty much like the whole strategy was using the like I used lots of level 3 like make Burning Abyss play through hand traps like amazingly, and that was Orcust's number one problem. So when you build decks, you always have to build to like obviously solve problems. And for me, like I was always like a deck builder, you know what I'm saying? I loved building decks. I would always like when I was younger, like just stay up and just like play these piles that literally made no sense, but you know, like I believed in them. So Burning Abyss Orcust, it was really good, you know. And then I remember Benny, shout out to Benny, he made a comment on my deck where he's like, your deck is literally like Orcust with bad cards. And that offended me. And then in game 3, that match, I remember he Lancia'd me, and I ended up like passing on Cherubini Dante with a window underneath because I play instant as well. And I'm like, yo, nice Lancia, bro. Like, nice Orcust deck, you know? Anyways, so I tell my friends, I'm like, yo, if I really wanted, like, if I wanted to play meta deck, I could top. You know, I just didn't really, like, I play casually, like, at the time. Like, I'm just like, yo, I'm just playing to have fun. So I ended up just making a pure Orcust deck, and it was, like, pretty standard. Honestly, it was, like, too standard. I didn't really like it because the deck had, like, lots of flaws, you know? Sometimes you just lose the game because the deck was inconsistent sometimes, or you just lose to the hand trap. But something that Abdul showed me one time was he's like, yo, look at this Orcust list. And this list played Brass Bombard, which at the time was like literally nobody played at the time. This was around Niagara 2, the second Niagara, YCS. So I'm like, yo, I'm want to try this out. So me and Abdul were testing it like 2 weeks before the event, and it was playing Engage, but only as Hornet drones into Kagari, into Hornet drones, where you go like or add Eagle Booster so you can have your mermaid protected and like have it instant mermaid. But I'm like, yo, this card is like way too good. Like Engage was my favorite card by far in the deck, and I'm like, yo, I'm actually just playing like pure Sky Striker with some Orcust cards. And so like I completely built my deck around Engage. 3 Allure, 3 Return. I was playing Desires at the time, which ended up breaking my heart, which I will get to. I played 3 Crescendo, which was very interesting. Like nobody played 3 Crescendo, and 3 Crescendo, I still stand by it. During that format, it was insane. So what ended up happening was I brought this Sky Striker deck. I mean, the Sky Striker Orcust deck, but this was during Mermaids, when Mermaid was legal, so it wasn't as powerful as some of the other Orcust variants, but it was still like by far, in my opinion, like I should have topped that event. But pretty much what happened was, you know, I go smoothly through the event, except round 3, I lost to like some random stun guy. He just was playing stun, and he just summoned his guy, you know what I'm saying, his Fossil Dyna or whatever, activate Necro Valley, set 2, like, damn, like, I just couldn't play it, you know? It just lost game 1 and 3, and I just couldn't do anything. So pretty much what it comes to, this is day 2, round 9 or 10 or something, I don't remember. And I was playing against Hani, and he was also playing an Orcust deck, but his was like a go second Orcust deck. My deck was like, my Orcust deck was the best at grinding because I played so many names, and I played Crescendos for days, and I played so much stuff for that reason. And so we're in this game 3 situation where like I activate Desires, and I banish 2 Harp Horrors, 2 Symbol Skeletons, 2 nightmares, and like my world wand. And the thing is, the only advantage my deck had against his was like a go second, like throw all your cards at the board, break their board, and OTK them. Me, I had to grind, like my deck was built to grind. And losing all my resources gave me such a disadvantage in that mirror match, and I ended up losing. And he told me after the game, he's like, bro, you played around Nibiru like a god. And I'm like, I know. I know I did. No, but Yohani's a sick guy, shout out to him. He definitely deserved to win that. Well, maybe not, but no, shout out to him. He's a sick guy.
well, man, we saw like Striker Orcust like really come into its own after that Niagara West. Yes, when we went to that banned. When Mermaid got banned, and we went to that November 30th regional, which I've referenced like a million times on the podcast because so much.
It was a legendary event.
It was a huge event. Yeah, I know. It was so huge. And then I know you were running Striker. You were running Striker Orcust. So was I. And I think I ran into about like 5-6 mirror matches that day. It was because that deck was so powerful. It was so crazy.
Yeah, definitely was by far the most powerful deck of the format. By far, like that format was extremely, extremely good. Like all the decks were fair. Like Jesse won the Toronto regionals earlier that year in like the summer or maybe a little before that with Salamangreat. The deck that sets up Rage Pass with 1 protection in graveyard. Like that's the deck that won an event, Like this was such a perfect time to capitalize. The time where Sky Orcust truly became a deck though was when it was the Pro Play Tour Columbus. Now this is a funny story. So at this point, I got kicked out of my house for something that, was definitely not my fault, just because my parents are a little, they're a little strict, they're a little traditional, but something didn't, appeal to them. So this was their way of always dealing with their problems, I guess. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, darn, where am I going to go? So I text Siobhan because there's like a Montreal regional that weekend. Siobhan's like, oh, we might go. And I'm like, oh, damn, that's let me know if you do, because like I don't really know what I'm doing for this weekend. And so I ended up texting Steven because he told me, yo, just ask Steven. I'm pretty sure they're going to like Columbus or something. And I haven't like traveled to the US for an event at this point. So I messaged Steven. I'm like, yo, and because of my strict parents, I've never traveled to an event because of my strict parents. So so I messaged Steven. I'm like, yo, I heard you were going to this event. He's like, yo, you want to come? And I'm like, sure, I'll come. Like,
of course.
You know what I'm saying? I'm playing my amazing Sky Orcust deck. And the next day, I was at GN. We were getting ready. You know what I'm saying? I played the locals. I'm pretty sure like I won or something. I remember I was like very, very confident in going into it. Very confident. I'm like, yo, I'm going to win this event. So it's me, Eric, Steven, 10-hour drive to Columbus. Holy shit, what a drive it was. Got like 0 hours of sleep because I can't sleep in a car for the life of me. Shout out to Eric. He drove. He's the GOAT. So and me and Steven would sometimes stop for like just to like stop at a place to grab food, and we would just play. Like we would play cards at like those where they have like the restaurants and the gas and everything, those on routes.
Yeah, so so in Canada we call them service centers or on routes. US they would call them like rest areas, but rest areas in the States don't have like restaurants or anything. They just have like they're just washroom breaks and vending machines.
Yeah. So we were inside that. We were playing cards, and Steven's like, yo, your deck's really good. I'm like, yeah, dude, the Sky Striker, every game I drew Sky Striker Engage, like I would never lose. That was the day I convinced Steven that Sky Striker Engage was the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh. So now we finally arrived to the event 10 hours later. I'm so tired, and I see some familiar faces there. I saw Ryan Yu, Alec, who's, oh my God, I love Alec. Shout out to Alec, Karibo Overload. So we're getting ready for the event. We're ready, and they're using it's important to mention that they're using the new list that was effective on Monday, and this was the Saturday. So the list hasn't even come out yet, and they changed it last minute because everyone wanted to play with the new list. So like on our way there, we found that out. And so I'm like, yo, this is like the perfect time because I already have a list with Mermaid Band. Like I built, you know what I'm saying? I built decks. This is something I'm prepared for. So I put that together, and we arrive at the event where I'm writing down my deck list, and Ryan's writing down his deck list beside me. You know what I'm saying? We both look over each other's list to make sure there's no mistake. And he's like, Milano. I'm like, what? He's like, you have an extra Widow Anchor in your side. That card's at 1 now. And I'm like, oh, good catch. But ironically enough, something I didn't realize was that I didn't write Orchestrated Babel on my deck list or Pot of Desires. So those cards, when I realized, okay, I'll get to that point. But pretty much, I'm playing in the event. I play lots of people. I play against Alec. He was playing against Thunder. 2-0'd him. I played against Charlie Futch, who's actually a really good player. I beat him. That's the event my own rivalry with Justin Singh started. It was like a very crazy event. So I'm like, I think X1 going into Top Cut. And then top 16, they're like, whose deck box is it? And it's just like this pink Ultra Pro deck box. Everyone else has like these double deck boxes, like all these, these like world champion qualifiers. It's just like a pink deck box. I'm like, oh, that's mine. And he brings me to the side and informs me that I didn't write these certain cards on my list. And I'm like, darn, so like what happens? And thankfully, if this was like a Konami event, I was 100% catching a DQ because they know that it was 100% an accident. Of course, I'm going Orchestrated Babel in my deck list. Yeah. And Ryan looked over my deck list too, and we both didn't realize that. So top 16, they give me a game loss, and I get to swap in 3 cards from my side deck into my main deck. And good thing I was siding 3 Called by the Grave. Just fit right perfectly. So I'm pretty much playing like my Orcust deck, which is like totally incomplete now because my most important card in my deck's like not there. So I'm playing against Dinos and I reverse 2-0'd him because he had the game win. And oh my gosh, like that was crazy. This was like when Misk was at 1, I go like Widow on the Oviraptor, chain Misk, chain Called by. Game 3. Oof. Game 3, he makes me go first, set up my regular engage, my crescendos, and he just couldn't play through it. And that was like a legendary comeback, without Babel. Mm-hmm. Like my whole gimmick of my deck is completely like removed, which like Babel's not really that good against Dinos anyways, but it's just ironic. So then top 8, I play against Clifton, who pretty much game 2, I ash his Imagination, and he played 1 Void Feast, which is the trap, and he hard drew it. And he did that against Abdul as well in like some OTS tournament, like this. Mm-hmm. Oh no, the UDS. That's what it was. The UDS. He did it in the UDS last round before Top Cut. If Abdul won that game, he would have topped. But he also drew the Void Feast when he ashed the Imagination. And of course, ashing Imagination was not the correct play because you can just ash the trap. But you know what I'm saying? Unfamiliar matchup. He built the correct deck for this format, and you know what I mean? Like Infernoid was actually really good that format. So I ended up losing in top 8, but it was legendary to me because like this is my first like top. Like I haven't topped the regional before this. I always came very, very close, but I just haven't been traveling enough, haven't been like actually playing meta. Like I just play my fun decks. And then I remember Robbie Cole came up to me and he's like, hey man, do you want to get a deck profile? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it on Steven's channel. He's like, oh, can I just get one anyways? And I'm like, yeah, like it'll be on Steven's channel if you want to see it. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll just get it from there. Because he just, takes the list, posts it, talks about it. So I remember, and then Robbie and Steven were recording this video just talking about their like the top 5 meta decks, just because like they're 2 UVTubers together. They want to make a video. This is something for a new format they could talk about. They just watched an event where like what went down in this new format. And Steven was like, yo, there's this player, like this is the point where nobody plays Engage. I was the only person playing Engage in my Orcust deck. Yeah. So he's like, there's this guy in my locals. His name's Milano. He plays this Sky Striker engine in his Orcust deck, and it works wonders. You know what I'm saying? He was just like boosting me up, and I'm just there watching them record the video, and I'm like, yo, respects to him. And then later, like this was around the time YCS, like I think it was Pasadena, because that's like the breakout event for Sky Striker Orcust. He even told the Take Notes group chat, which was like the Americans, like some of the popular Americans are in there.
Yeah, I think that's Cody Angeloff's like a little
Cody Angeloff, Christian Urena, like that group. He pretty much informed that group about the deck, and from there, like the deck became the most popular deck of the format. I ended up like topping every event I went to except the last Scarborough because I got very unlucky in like every single mirror match. That mirror match was like no fun, completely no skill. But yeah, you know, like this was a moment for me when I felt like I had a real impact on the game. I had lots of conversations with like Ryan, and I'm showing him my Orcust deck. And he's like, you should probably just play instant over Engage. And I'm like, but like, yo, Engage is like the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! He's like, yeah, that if you want to play Engage, the only argument you could make is that Engage is the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm like, that's my argument. That's why I'm playing it.
Yeah.
I've
used that argument before with some of the best decks because I always think, you know, like what like, if we just take every card out and think what's the best card like of the format, and you know at that time I thought Engage was the best card of the format because you know being able to draw one for one thing and search whatever you want like a utility card for like defense or whatever when it comes or like offense because that's how striker cards can work. They can go like both ways, and then draw a card and gain advantage because that's like one of the biggest things in the game right now is advantage. That's what it does. And like before, and then like when Beatrice got released, I'm thinking, what's the best card? Beatrice is one of the best cards of the game right now. So yeah, I thought PK Fighter was like the best card of the deck at that time. And then before that, I thought, what's the best card before? Like Necros or Trishula. So I kind of build like the decks around like based around like, well, what's the most broken
powerful
thing?
Right? Yeah, what's the most powerful resource to abuse?
Yeah,
but
and
I'm gonna say like straight up, 100%. Like what kind of inspired me to like really like acknowledge and love what Engage provided for my deck was all inspired by like Patrick Hoban. Like I remember he made this one Shadal deck where I don't know, he didn't do like crazy with that. I'm pretty sure he got like top 32, but he played like this was the first time like people saw Brilliant like in action. And he played this Warrior engine. It was like Rhoda was at 3 or something, and he played like 3 Rhoda, an Armanite to dump Shadals, a Blaze Man to search Poly, and like some other and Photon Thrasher to summon a level 4 on board to make a rank 4. Yeah. And when I like watched his explanation explain to me like the power of like utility, like that's what Engage like kind of like just represented to me. You know, this was the way to make this utility engine in my Orcust deck. Now my deck can beat Takobo, which was a huge problem for the deck. Now my deck can put an extender on board before I can even play, which Orcust has 0 good extenders in the deck, you know?
Yeah, and I know Hoban also when he ran Shadals and won YCS Toronto with it, he also included those the baby Chaos Dragons.
That was the Lightsworn event.
Chaos Dragons. Yeah, and he also included what was it? It was the 2 like baby dragons as well. It was
Wiverbuster and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. I have a funny story with that. With that. Okay, so this is Card Masters 2014, end of 2014. I'm playing against Jesse, and Jesse, I've never taken a match off Jesse in my life at this point. You know, like Jesse's like, he wasn't like really well known, like he's nowhere near like the behemoth he is today, right? But you know what I'm saying? He was like one of the top players at our locals, and he was playing his Burning Abyss deck, and I was playing Shadals, and the matchup was usually favored in Shadals because Winda shuts that deck down, and Shadal Fusion going second was just like insane. So he ends on like a Dante and a set 1, and my hand is like Shadal Fusion, BLS, like Collapse Serpent, and like some I played this similar Lightsworn variant to Patrick Hoban's deck before he topped with it, but it was like much worse. Admittedly, much worse. I played Dark World Dealings in that deck, and so pretty much I start my turn. I go Shadal Fusion. I dump Eclipse Wyvern and I played Eclipse Wyvern as well. I dump Eclipse Wyvern Squamata to summon Construct. And then pretty much when you like go Squamata Construct, you like pretty much guarantee you have 3 Darks engraved. So Eclipse Wyvern, banish the dad, Construct, do the stuff, send your Shadals plus, and then I drop the BLS, banish the Eclipse, drop the dad, pop his monsters, and attack for game. And that was like a game 3. And he's like, why do you play Dark World Dealings? That card's terrible. I'm like, I need drop power. He's like, do you play Upstart? I'm like, I don't have it. I don't have it. This is all I got. Because, you know, as a kid, like coming up, I did not have money to spend in the game. You know, like I was 14, 15. I didn't have a job until I was like, you know, like I think I got my first job at like 15. But that's like when I kind of got out of the game, like towards the end of. No, it was like 2016, something like that. But you get the point. Yeah. But that was a crazy like Lightsworn Shadal moment. And when Pat won that event, I remember I'm like, yo, like my idea was so similar, but he just executed it better, you know? Like I played 3 Falco. That was like one of my favorite Shadal cards. Because you know what I'm saying? You mill it off a Raiden, it's like, okay, yo, next turn I get my Beast, and my Beast is gonna draw me 2 cards. GG. Yeah.
I mean, holy man. And like with Shadal's, man, like resource management with that deck is so critical because like you can gain so many resources, and like it was so good like dissecting other people's decks down, man. But if you can't like manage your resources with that deck, like you're toast.
Shadal was like one of the reasons I really loved Shadal at the time was because it was one of those decks that, depending on the matchup, you play very, very differently. Like that's why I love Dragon Maids as well. It's like I find that applicable as well. You build strategies as you play. You don't have a set combo. You don't have 2 cards. Okay, this equals this. You look at what your opponent has on their field. You look at what's in your hand, and then we talk. You know.
Yeah, the toolbox decks is what we call them now, because you play to the situation that is presented before you, or you play what you think you go against. If you're like going first and you have to make like a certain play, you play to like what you see rather than just making like a set combo. Like what would you do with like Salamangreats, for example? Just end off at like Sunlight Wolf, like
Sunlight Wolf counter traps, good enough, like you know,
2 counter traps. Yeah, that's what it is. Those are the kind of decks I love playing, by the way. And I know that Dragon Maids is something you've been kind of touching with lately. A recent video just came out. You just had a match against Triff, a remote duel online with him, playing the Dragon Maids, man. Tell me more about that.
So the Dragon Maid deck really started to appeal to me when I remember Base Lolly, who's also a GOAT in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Shout out to him. Me and him never really had any conversations or anything, but I always loved watching his deck profiles, man. That guy's so funny. So he just showed this Dragon Maid list on some video that he like topped the locals with or something. It wasn't like a big event. And I was like, yo, this deck looks interesting, you know? Like I tried it. Like I saw there's lots of room for improvement, because like whenever my favorite way to play Yu-Gi-Oh is I like to build my own decks, you know? Like every opportunity I have, like I will try to innovate where I can, you know, where need be. Like my Striker Orcust deck right now is like, it's like it doesn't even play the scrap cycler comp. Fortress Citadel, drop the fortress, you know, just like that. I like to like build my own strategies and do things like that. And for Dragon Maids, it was like one of the small. So that I Dragon list a lot. I'm like there's a point where I played Dragoon and Souls. Boot Sector launch was one of the most like, that's when I realized I'm like, yo, I'm a really good deck builder. When I threw 1 Boot Sector in my launch in my deck, and I played 0 rocket monsters. So just you can pretty much get a free. It's pretty much like Baylings, Striker Dragon. You just turn any of your Dragon Maids into your Baylings, search your field spell, and that's it. The reason why that's so powerful though is because during the time when I played Souls, like lots of the Dragon Maid cards have effects in graveyards. So if you like go normal summon chamber, search for like for tidying, and then you go like turn it into Striker Dragon, search Boot Sector, summon Souls, pitch both, draw 2. Now you have like 100 cards at least, right? So I even still play Boot Sector launch in my deck now, and I side it as a 1-of, because against like the Eldritch matchup, you can like, usually the Dragon Maid deck ends on like Seal. If you draw like a good hand, Seal Shio, like with utility cards. So like having that face up Boot Sector launch can make sure like against like matchups like Eldritch or Sky Striker, where they have like lots of spot removal that doesn't put any card on the board, it's like you usually instantly lose when you have no other like Dragon Maid normal summons, and Seal's like the only way to continue your engine during your opponent's turn. So utilizing like my Boot Sector launch just to put a face up card on field, and it even worked in that best of 5 I played with Steven. But unfortunately, the match that I played with Steven, I didn't have like my full deck built, because like I don't have all the cards that I actually like would play. You know, like Forbidden Droplets, for example. Like I would play that card. I have my deck built on DB completely, and the version I have like built right now is like kind of scuffed, but you know it's good enough. But the main reason I love Dragon Maids is because there's so much strategy. Like I really feel like I'm playing like a strategy game when I'm playing Dragon Maids, because there's so many like different type of win conditions, but it's like Now, which win condition is the most ideal for the certain situation am I in, and how am I going to get there? By beating the most hand traps, playing through interruptions, using my opponent's knowledge, like lack of knowledge about my strategy, in order to use that to my advantage. You know, like if my opponent says like they're reading my cards, like if I have any like assumption that they don't know what my cards do, then like sometimes, for example, I'll hold seal till the battle phase, and then when they enter the battle phase, like I go +4.
So man, with that deck, Dragon Maid's like why run it like in this meta right now that's like so like super saturated with like Drytrons and virtual worlds.
So the thing is, this format is actually one of the best formats we've had for Dragon Maid. If any time's the time to play it, now is. Pretty much like it doesn't really have a good Drytron matchup. I wouldn't say that by any means, just because Seal doesn't really interrupt the Drytrons. Shio isn't like a crazy card against it. You negate a card and like kind of just they're gonna play through that. Like you can set up enough defense to definitely see the next turn. You have like kind of main deck ways to beat vanities by going like tidying, but that's not really like our way to beat the Drytron strategy. So the reason why it's like a great deck though is because every other deck other than Drytron and Virtual World specifically, just because those are combo decks and Dragon Maids typically don't have a good combo matchup. Every other deck in the format is like, let's say like for example the Eldritch Trap deck, which I ended up actually losing the best of 5 to Steven, but I feel like my matchup with that deck is like very, very in my favor. When I'm playing like I don't know if you saw the match, but pretty much Steven top deck Thoroughblade in order to win like the match. If he didn't have game that turn, I was winning because all of his Eldritch resources were depleted. He had no more grind in him.
Because I remember at the end, like at the end of that match, you told him like if you didn't have that card, like I didn't want to be this guy, but like this is what I had like plotted for you like next turn. Like you had like a laundry list of cards like just gonna like get him next turn if you hadn't have drawn that Thoroughblade.
Yeah, because that's all he just needed a zoo monster to push for game, and he got it. But still, you know what I'm saying? I totally respect that deck. Still, it's a great deck, this format, and the only real the only real obstacle against that deck is Ice Dragon's Prison. But besides that, Dragon Maid bullies that deck. Bullies. If I can get like 2 Dragon Maid monsters on the field and I'm able to enter the battle phase, like when playing Dragon Maids, you kind of have to use your battle phase as a resource. Like similar to Sky Strikers, how they would use like Hayate just to punch in to get the Sky Striker card in the graveyard. You use the Dragon Maid monsters to recur your monsters, add them back to your hand, and then summon the other monsters with the same level. So like if you summon Earnest, like if you have a Laundry you didn't use that turn, you bounce Earnest, summon the Laundry. Like you get to accelerate your resources in the battle phase, where against these control decks that don't really have much to stop the battle phase to deplete you of this resource. Like I'm saying that with these bunny ears, but you obviously can't see that. But like once you use this resource to your advantage, you could like totally capitalize against those decks, because trust me, summoning a 2700 beater, like summoning 2 2700 beaters against like a deck like Altergeist is like decently annoying. You'd be surprised. And then you just like pass on the seal, you pass on the seal shield. Like these are like, it's so easy to recreate that board where sometimes like I'll have a seal and someone will Nibiru over my seal, and then I end on Seal Shio instead because Seal summons from deck still, and that's like not good. Don't Nibiru over my Seal, guys. Don't do it.
Yeah, so like explain because I'm sure not everybody's familiar with like the Dragon Maid deck. Like kind of just give me like a quick little walkthrough of like what the deck is like supposed to do.
Oh, the full strategy? Okay, yeah, my bad. I wasn't really Yeah, okay. So pretty much you have these small Dragon Maid monsters and you have the big Dragon Maid monsters. The main win condition of the deck is to use your fusion monsters like Shio and House. Shio is a defensive card where during the standby phase it summons a Dragon Maid from your graveyard or hand. And House is an offensive card. Every time a Dragon Maid monster gets bounced, you get to pop a monster on the field. So similar to Titan. So all the Dragon Maid monsters have these bounce effects during the battle phase. So during the start of battle phase, and effects can happen in between. So you can use like, let's say you enter the battle phase while I control a seal, and I use my seal's effect to bounce a card. Like if your monster does not threaten me whatsoever, I'll bounce my own card sometimes. Sometimes I'll bounce a World Legacy Guard Dragon. Sometimes I'll bounce like my own Dragon Maid monsters if I don't have enough big dragons. So you summon the small dragons from deck. All of them have effects on summon to give you some kind of like plus or some kind of advantage. Nurse specifically is the one that you're usually summoning off Shio, which summons a Dragon Maid monster as well. So you have 2 monsters. And their effects during the start of battle phase is to bounce them both to summon these specific level big dragons from your graveyard. And they're all pretty much just beat sticks with small utility effects. Like the utility effects don't really come up too much other than Earnest and Tinkak. Tinkak gives a 2k boost when you discard it. Earnest special summons 1/1 from your hand when you discard it. So there's like the start of battle phase is a way for you to return your monsters to your hand and like kind of like build the follow-up while still having lots of room for defense. Your winning turn usually looks like if I can use changeover to make a shield to be protected from like certain cards, I try to like pretty much simplify the game state as much as I can. So I use Phoenix to like pop a back row and like sometimes like, you know, just try to control the game so that my shields negate will get lots of value in terms of my like win turn, because you have to kind of play for your win turn. So you try to summon House, which like if your opponent controls a full board of monsters, it's so easy to clear. Every time you bounce a Dragon Maid during the start of battle phase, you pop a monster. So you summon these 2,700 beaters. So usually 2 big dragons and a fusion monster is like always game. So that's like how your win turn looks like. And yeah. I think that's a general rundown of the strategy.
I mean, it's interesting how like the deck, like, because I know like all the monsters, like they kind of like transform into like a completely different monster during the battle phase, and that's like where you utilize like the utility and the control of the deck, which is weird because you don't really see that in a whole lot of other decks. Like, you know, you mentioned the example with Hayate, for example, and Strikers, where like it's so necessary to like dump a certain spell to get from the deck to the graveyard, so you can retrieve it back with like either multi-roll, or you might get it back with Kagari and whatnot. And then the Dragon Maid kind of has that like that similar sense. Like we don't see a lot of battle phase being used as utility per se. We as a resource. So it's definitely like a much different way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh as you typically would, and you're, you know, trying to like, you know, right the ship with that deck and kind of make it, you know, really meta relevant.
Yeah, the thing is like based adding on what you said, how it like plays its own game. Like if you're bored of Yu-Gi-Oh, pick up Dragon Maids, man. That deck literally plays like no other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh ever has, you know? There's so much like technical play you can come upon and so many like different strategies that you can like if I'm playing against an Eldritch deck, like my main priority is getting my seal to resolve. I'm not trying to interrupt them. I don't care about interrupting them. I'm just trying to build my board so that I have enough resources to just live me for the next turn. Like just keep me in the game, put a monster on the field, few cards in my hand. That's all you need. Because all your like you can search extenders, you can search utility cards that are very powerful against the Eldritch deck as well. What was I gonna touch upon? I lost my train of thought. But sorry. Against Eldritch variants with Zoos, something I try to prioritize is tidying, because tidying is very, very good to prevent the Zeus. And even though Zeus is definitely beatable with the Dragon Maid deck, like you have lots of ways to get around it. Sometimes Zeus with 3 set is a whole different story. So yeah, you utilize the tidying against the zoo monsters. Don't let that battle happen, and you just use your seal to kind of recur your resources. Continue grinding during their turn.
Yeah, tidying is the trap for anyone who's
which is pretty much like a compulse, which bounces a dragon monster at control and another card that your opponent controls or in their graveyard.
So how did that match like start with Triff? Like how did that all like come about exactly?
Oh, he just messaged me. He's like, "Yo, you trying to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down." Yeah. He's like, "Wait, do you want to make a video out of it and like play like a best of 5?" And I'm like, "I'm down." And we played. That me and Steven are pretty good friends, I would say. Like you know, we've known each other for like a pretty long time. Like actually, I take that back. We're not like pretty good friends. I say we're like he's like a older brother to me even. Like he was there for me like a lot of times, like to come to think about it. The first day I met him though, I remember like it's so funny, but this is 100% the true story. The Pendulum Magician starter deck came out that day, the structure deck. the one with Wisdom Eye and Dragon Pit and all that. And I'm at Card Masters because this is like my favorite locals. I love Card Masters. So I'm chilling there, and Steven comes in. He's like, "Yo, you want to duel?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, sure, let's play." And then we were playing. I also picked up 3 of the structure decks, and like since I love building different type of decks, like I played lots of unique tech choices in that deck. For example, there was this one play that like it was a little popular in the beginning, but no one really. It was kind of under the radar where you play like this Ignite engine in order to search. So pretty much like if you don't know what the Ignites do in the scales, they pop another Ignite in your scale. So you need 2 Ignites to do this combo to search for a Fire Warrior monster. So you would search for the Great Shogun Shien, which says your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap card per turn. And with that pendulum structure deck came out Pendulum Call, which searched for 2 pendulum monsters. You could just search your perfect scales. So you make your scales, you pen 3, your Shogun Shien that you just searched, and the 2 Ignites, and then you exceed them for Durendal, which says if your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you can change the effect to pop a spell trap card your opponent controls. So they can only activate 1 spell trap card, and its effect would be to pop a spell trap card. But my scales are also protected by pen call, so you can't activate any spells or traps. In the mirror, instant win.
Yeah,
because they can't activate more than 1 scale. It's literally unlosable.
So he saw spells and traps.
Yeah, he saw text like that in my deck. He's like, "Yo, you're a really good builder, man." You know what I'm saying? Like I saw him at the OCS like a few times. Like a little while after that, and he was playing Magispectors. And he came. He's like, "Yo, do you have the either Magispector or Yada or the quick play spell?" And most of the decks played 1 Yada, 1 quick play spell. It's like just like a pop a monster by tributing a Magispector.
Yep.
So he was looking for like 3 of each, and I'm like, "Man, why would you play 3 of each of that card?" He literally lays out his deck in front of me and starts explaining to me like his deck choices, and I'm like, wow, this guy's actually like nice. He's nice. And I'm pretty sure he ended up coming like top 8 in that OCS, if I remember correctly. I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's my interactions with Trith, like the first time I ever like met him, like he kind of came off like being like the normal self that he is, like let's do this, man. Like the whole
that's not him. You know what I'm saying? That's not. Well, he definitely is like that. When he's hyped up and he's, you know what I'm saying, in the mood. But for the most part, Steven's like one of the chillest guys I know.
Yeah.
Like he's so chill.
Okay, so when we were at that November 30th regional, when you were going against Dominic Couch, I was sitting beside you to your right. I was playing against Triff. And holy heck, man! Like he's so chill. He's not quite as hyped when he's dueling. He's a crap ton more focused when he's playing the game.
Especially when he's playing. When he's playing, like he's like the most serious, most like he's into this game. He's playing like it's like really professional type of vibe I get from it.
Yeah.
Like he like really like
is.
takes his time, thinks. He's like really he's a really good player. He like really embodies like that like when it's like a casual game at a local, it's like we're obviously just having fun, but in that regional setting, like when you see him play, he's like totally like this is serious. This is not a joke.
It really is.
I'm here to take this.
Yeah, it really is, man. So when I played him and I had my chance to beat him, because we were both like 5. I think you, like all 3 of us, I think we were like 5-0 to start, like 4. We were like 4-0-5 to start the tournament. And I going like, man, this is my chance to beat Triff here. I got a chance now. I can beat him. But when I played him, my hands weren't the best, but they were at least like playable. At least I could like make plays, and I wouldn't be. They weren't dead. Well, they weren't the best, so it was like fine. But when I played against Triff, like he had me controlled like through the entire game. I felt like I had no control over the game whatsoever. And like I fooled them on like one play by setting a bluff like Metalfoe's like the Meadowview Fusion, but that was about it. It's like other than that, it's like, man,
Meadowview Fusion in your Orcust deck?
I think so. I was running a bluff or something.
Wow,
I was running a bluff or something like that. I think I had
Mm-hmm,
a bluff.
yeah,
I hit with a bluff. I forget what it was.
Maybe it was like a crescendo or something. Snipe your crescendo effect.
I think that's what it was. I think it was a crescendo. Yeah, there you go. That's the bluff. And I'm like, man, like Triff knows what he's doing. Like he got me like crazy, and And like he's again completely focused. He knows exactly what he's doing, and like you can't underestimate Triff. Like you don't let that like his persona like fool you. Like what he does, like when he plays the game, it's absolutely explosive. And he's a smart man.
He's like really, really intelligent guy. Really intelligent guy.
He really is, man. I tip my hat to him, man, and I hope I can get a rematch with him someday. You know, hopefully they're a lot better than our last match at that regional. Because again, like I was X2 that regional. I didn't make the cut. I know you're the X2. They were 8th place.
I made the cut as the X2. Yeah. But I think it was totally the reason. Like, okay, so against my match against Dom Couch, like both games, like this was like a pretty like serious game because I'm like, this is a whoever's better match. Like whoever's better matches to me are no fun in games. Like this is where duelists come to duel and we find out who truly is better, you know? But, even though Dom Couch is better than me because he did beat me in a whoever's better match, no doubt about that, you know what I'm saying? He's definitely the superior duelist. But in that match, like before that, he was not the superior duelist. But during that match, both games were complete garbage. Like my hand, like game 2, I remember specifically, I draw Babel, Symbols, Lancia, and some other stuff. It was like legit, like I couldn't do anything. I set my symbols and pass, and he goes draw, activate Upstart. Yep, and I'm thinking, resolution, Lancia, sure, return, engage, search Hornet Drones, engage. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, damn, like, of course, like, my only way to stop this guy, my Lancia, and then he has double engage, like, that's, like, what I'm like, this mirror match is pretty bold,
it's not
fun. And I lost that match very, very, I was, like, so upset because I'm like, man, I was supposed to win this event. It's my deck. Stop using it, guys. And then I ended up playing Steven in the last round, and I remember game 3, like it was like I was like set to win, and then Steven's like, I think he like used the draw card, and he's like, I'm so sorry, bro. Activates engage. I ash it. Engage. Bro, I got so like I'm like, you know what, bro? Like, I'm like before the match, like we're just talking. I'm like, bro, straight up, like either way this goes, I'm so happy for us. Either way this goes, because my assumption was that whoever lost was not topping, but like I had the best breakers, right? Like I lost against the winner and the 2nd or 3rd place. And so after that match, I'm like, yo, congrats, bro. Like I'm like so happy for you. And so I'm just like chilling outside. This was like I was outside having a smoke with my friends, and then all I see, I look inside, and a bunch of my friends are running out the door, and they're like, "Yo, you topped!" And I'm like, "What? How?" You're like, "Yo, you're 8. You were the one. You had the best breakers." I'm like, "Oh wait, I did have the best breakers." You know what I'm saying? And they're like kind of like celebrating that for me because they knew kind of that was like my first moment for like something like that. Like, well, not like a PPG was, but it was like this was my first. This was in Toronto, Like this was the event I beat Marcus Carice. This was the event I you know what I'm saying? I really felt like because my deck was built the way that I wanted to, my deck beat every deck except the mirror. Like my deck was not built for the mirror. Everybody else was playing Skullmeister at this time, DD Crows, like all these dark hand traps that are also good against the Orcust deck, also synergize. But honestly, I just didn't think those cards were good against any other deck that way. So, like, I was so happy with that top. And, that top cut ended up being literally insane. Like me, Jesse, Siobhan, Dom Couch, Steven. So that's 5 GN mans right there. You know what I'm saying? All from Game Nation. Like, completely swept that tournament. And then Alec in 9th, which was jokes.
Because I was the one who lost. Because I lost a Triff. In that, I think it was like round 5 or 6. I can't remember if we were 4-0 or 5-0 when I lost to him. And then I lost to Mustafa, the Moose Yu-Gi-Oh.
The guy from Montreal.
Yeah, the guy from Montreal. Great guy. Yeah, and I accidentally double bricked him after getting deck checked, which was like, I'm like I can't even play the game because I double bricked. I got no blame on Mustafa because like he did what he was supposed to do.
Oh, it's totally out of his control, right? Like sometimes the game just doesn't have the best interest for you. At the end of the day. There's so many times like I consider like why am I still playing this game? Sometimes I just lose, like especially like earlier, like the game is definitely much better than it was in 2020. Like 2020 was definitely like a very like low point for Yu-Gi-Oh, because I feel like that was the format most where I consistently lost to players that I was better than, that I felt like my deck was built better. My knowledge of the game is far beyond what these guys even, you know what I'm saying? They pick up the meta decks and they do the combo. They just did the combo, you know? They watched their combo video. Oh, drew the card, did my combo, you know? Like that's the number. I hate combo decks. Combo decks like just should not exist in Yu-Gi-Oh. Should not. You know, like the number one format that like the legacy format that I play, like as I said earlier, was like plan format. And like plan format is one of those games where like it's like obviously it's the same deck, but it's such a control-based format where there's so many opportunities for technical play and so many opportunities to outplay your opponent. But when your opponent just does their combo, what are you outplaying? You know, like where is the interaction between the two duelists? Are you even a duelist if you're playing combo, or are you simulating this strategy? Like I don't need to be like a complainer, but you know, like I just like there's no reason to have decks that just don't allow the other player to play, you know? And as much as it's been said, you know, I don't need to really elaborate.
Yeah, like I've had this like little debate, this argument like throughout like the entire time of my podcast about like decks nowadays where like if you take Salmon Grace for example, again, like they have this like one set combo, there's very few ways to do it, but this is the end board that you want to do the first turn.
Oh, Salad is a deck that I wouldn't really categorize as that combo type of deck, because it's totally like the deck the deck strategy is to like prolong the game, you know, like decks that try to win in one turn is more of what I'm trying to target here, where these decks like are like I'm talking like, for example, Adamantipator, Virtual World, where it's kind of use your hand to stop your opponent for a turn, so they cannot do you make them do as little as possible and then just capitalize.
Yeah, right? So like just don't let like build a board where they can't do anything, and then when it comes back to your turn, you have the kill right then and there. Like those kind of decks.
But yeah, thankfully, yeah. Like kind of just like real combo decks. Dragon Link, Infernoble, like outside of their turn one, the deck's trash. You know, like that's not ideal for me. That's not how I have fun.
Yeah, and again, it's not like you're kind of playing against more like yourself rather than playing with the opponent, because you know if you're playing like a combo like with no interruption, like you pretty much have like a broken board where majority of the time you're going to see your opponent just kind of like scoop or just put like a very lackluster
You can never ever beat a combo deck's full board without deck cards outside of your engine. That's when it like becomes a problem. I forgot who said that, but I think it was like maybe Jesse. Like when you need to add all these cards that are not part of your strategy just in order to have answers to these cards that otherwise you would automatically lose to, you know, like. But that's meta, right? Like that's how the game works.
Yeah, because there's checks and counters.
Instead of using the ban list, Konami likes to just print even brokener cards to like kind of combat with what's going on. You know, like read Dark Ruler compared to like Forbidden Chalice, for example. Forbidden Chalice is a card.
Yeah, it's like slapping like band-aids over band-aids for like the same problem.
Eventually, the utility cards will overpower the decks, because eventually, you know, like they gotta print something where it's like, yo, if your opponent special summons a monster, they can't do anything in order to like really combat these decks.
Exactly. And like I like that little quote that you gave earlier, that like you have to play cards that are like, you know, that aren't like part of your deck to check those cards, like cards that aren't really part of your deck. It's like when Drytrons are running like Cyber Dragon Nova, like the Makaba and an Elder Entity, just to combat with like the one in the Dogmatica card, the Maximus. It's like that.
Yeah.
Because like I'm sure that like a lot of other Drytron decks would love to fill that space with something else, but because of Maximus, it's a hard counter to it. And see, like you
kind of lower the ceiling of your deck because of what kind of because of the overpowered meta, the overpowered meta of
exactly that. Like it's hard because I really like playing with decks that have like high ceilings. Like I don't mind if there's like a bit of a lower floor, but so long as I have that high ceiling, that's what I'm kind of aiming for. But though those three cards in your extra deck with Drytrons really lowers that up a bit, because you have less utility to work with as you go on.
See, this is exactly why like Sky Orcust format was so big for me, like in terms of like not only like the situation of like obviously like my first my first like thing I gave to the game, really, like I would say, but not only that, but there's so much opportunity with the Sky Striker cards. There's so much opportunity to outplay your opponent. Like for example, at this Detroit regionals that I ended up coming top 8 in as well, it was like round 5 or 6, game 3, and my opponent for some reason didn't Lancia me during the standby phase or something, and I ended up like resolving an allure, which drew me into engage, and I ended up getting I was pretty much under Lancia, and I'm just like trying to resolve my engage. I'm like, okay, if I Widow Anchor his card and he just like has like the extenders or like the answer, I instantly lose. Or the Trickster Light Stage. What's Trickster Light Stage played at this point? I think it was. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But like there was like I can't end this turn with a Widow Anchor. So I'm just looking at my deck and I'm like, dude, what if I just like Shark Cannon his Lancia and then Lancia him? And that was like one of the most like what is it? Like that once I did that, that was the moment where I'm like, yeah, these Sky Striker cards, like you gotta play them in this deck. Like it's absolutely mandatory. Having like that, like even like what we're talking about in terms of technical play, like this was an opportunity where I was rewarded for my deck building, but also have this opportunity to like kind of use my cards in a way where they're not typically used, you know, just kind of, it's tech play, right? Like there's so much opportunity for tech play. Like I remember I was even playing against James Jung in this one Game Nation Locals. Shout out to James Jung, who's a Hakuna Matata. His YouTube channel is doing pretty sick right now. Shout out to him. And he was playing Cyber Dragons, and like he goes like Lancia target. He goes Lancia, and I chain Shark Cannon targeting a Naxter, and I only have like one spell in my graveyard, and then I chain Twin targeting my Shark Cannon by pitching a spell, and I had three spells in my graveyard. So I was able to take his Naxter, use Naxter to revive my Ding, and I had no access to any of my Orcust cards. So I ended up attaching an Orcust card, and that's what inevitably won me the game, because I was able to like use this card where like it pretty much allows me to up the ceiling of my deck. And you know, I just don't feel that with a lot of cards this format, where it's, you know, like where's the interesting interactions with Drytron in the format? It's kind of just like you relies on the same win condition.
Yeah, Vanity's Feet.
Same as Virtual.
Yeah, I have this little thought that where it's so easy to like plot your first turn. It's always easy to do it because everyone knows how to do the first turn. But I would say like the real skill when it comes to playing this game is being able to play every subsequent turn afterwards, because like you can solitaire so many times, but you may not give yourself the same experience to play like turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, because that's when you really have to learn how to grind through, because that's where the game gets interesting.
Adapt through scenarios.
And exactly what it is. It's like it's being able to adapt and you know, getting used to the situation that is being presented before you. Because if you go first, like let's say I'm playing Drytrons, if I go first, I set up a Vanity's ruler on board, so we can't special summon, but I'm going against an Eldritch deck that can somehow like get rid of my ruler. Then it's like, okay, well, what's my play now? Because now they can start special summoning everything. Now I got to learn how to like dissect this board. Now the Eldritch, everything is live. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, and that's where like I have to abuse Link Rebo, maybe the Nightmare Engine, to start like whittling away their resources and drawing cards. And, you know, that's where like the real grind comes out. But, you know, like it's the good players will be able to play out of it. The worse off players won't be able to play out of that kind of situation, because all they really know is like the first turn and maybe not know how to do it. Yeah, this is the combo. You're just kind of copycatting it, but like, which helps you to like a very small extent, but you got to learn how to play the game afterwards. And like a lot of people don't put themselves in that situation.
100% totally agree with that. Like plat format is one of those sorry, yeah, I'm bringing this up, but like, yo, it's like the most fun way to play Yu-Gi-Oh ever. But like, as long as both players are very good at plant format, like Abdul's, like I say, my main plant opponent. I play against Jesse sometimes, like when times were better than stupid C word C19. But yeah, like in plant format, there's so many situations where, okay, my opponent has a set, has this many cards in hand, has like how am I gonna beat his scores, his torrential, his solemn, his econ, his book, his dust shoot? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's plenty of times where, you know what I'm saying, use dust shoot and kind of retain information and somehow use that towards the future of the game. You know, knowledge is like very powerful. Just by like, if your opponent normal summons a tour guide on the first turn and sets 2 cards, you can already kind of start making assumptions based on what cards in their hand. What cards are they gonna looking for? What cards are they, you know? And the further it gets into the game, the more intricacies like are added, because there's so many like more opportunities to draw these like 1 of cards, these 2 of cards that are like, you know, otherwise, you know, they wouldn't have. So there's so many opportunities to attempt to outplay your opponent and attempt to continue using your knowledge of the format to, I guess, like win as best as possible. That's why, like, whenever I played against Plants against Jesse, like he was like if I played current with Jesse, like it's not hard to win current against someone that's better than you. You know, like I'll just say that like, completely honestly. Sometimes like I just beat players that are better than me. But like in Plants, like there's so much opportunity for comebacks and so much opportunity to abuse this tech play. And I remember specifically where I played against Ray, the owner of Game Nation, who's the most blessed man on this whole earth. Shout out to Ray. He made this play where we're in a situation where I have Spirit Reaper and he makes a Brio. And obviously, like, he could just bounce my Spirit Reaper, poke me for 23, but like that's not really doing anything. That's not doing anything. So he flips his Call of the Haunted to bring back Sangan, and he goes Brio effect, bounce back Call of the Haunted, Sangan effect, search a card, sets his Call of the Haunted and passes. I draw. I can't beat Brio. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting on a Reaper. I pass again, draw, activate Call of the Haunted, bring back Sangan, Brio effect, pitch, bounce back Call, Sangan effect. You know what I'm saying? This I've never seen this strategy before when he was doing it to me, and I'm like, wow, like, yo, like I never even thought of this. Like every turn, like he can just attack and potentially play into a Gores, but this is the best way to play. And you know what I'm saying? He showed me like this was another another moment where like tech play really outshined like just drawing better. You know?
This is where like we start to see like the decks of like old, like there weren't a lot of like linear plays. Like every single play that you would do would be completely different. And now that we have these like a lot more like archetype based decks, you can see that a lot more plays are a lot more linear. It's like, okay, this is the deck, this is the combo that you're gonna throw flat out. It's pretty easy, like almost anybody can do it. As opposed to like, you know, playing like a goat deck or playing like a plant format deck. It's like every single opening you do is going to be different because you know it plays to your hand.
Your cards are different every single time. Cards don't grant value instantly in plant format. You kind of have to use your cards in the most efficient way possible. Like if you go like normal summon tour guide and your opponent chains Valor and you chain Econ, take their Sangan. You know, you make Xyz with their Sangan, you deny their Sangan. Like lots of the formats like basis is like using Sangan to try to like control the board, because Sangan is like really annoying in that format. You know, there's like Thunder King to counter it, Econ to counter it. There's like, you know what I'm saying? It's more as like, it's like you really build a strategy with all these unique cards rather than having a strategy going into the game and just performing the strategy, you know?
And that's what I love about the decks of old, is because that, you know, you can, it really becomes like a really hard grind and a hard chess match with each other, because, you know, you have every game's not going to be the same. Like I might not open the same way. Like when I play in chess, my opening isn't going to be the same move every single turn. It's read and react to what my opponent does. And that's kind of what like the plant format and the goat format does. It's read and react to it for the most part. Like but opening turn, it's like, well, I'm just going to, let's just throw all this out. And let's just hope that my opponent can't stop me, because like then you're relying on like a lot of luck at that point. Just hoping, okay, just hope my opponent doesn't have like the cards to beat me, and then I can win game 1 and we can go right to game 2.
Yeah, I hate like talking negatively about the game, because like obviously like Konami is trying to do what they gotta do to improve the game, I guess. But at the same time, it's like the ban lists are starting to feel like they're selling products over like actually balancing the game, and they just kind of use product to balance the game. So they kind of just make money because obviously like their business, they're trying to make money. But yeah, like I like to play plant format. You know, it's like probably like the most fun anybody could have playing Yu-Gi-Oh. As long as you master the format, like I feel like there's so much I learned from plant format I could apply to like regular Yu-Gi-Oh still. But even beyond that, I feel like my strategy in plant format is way beyond my skill level in current, because there's a ceiling in current where you can't win every single game. But when you watch Jesse play plants, he can win every single game if he want. Like it's really hard to take a match off him. Like, you know, I have to play like out of my mind in order to like to really like reach his level. Like, which is surprising to say, but that's really how it is. It really is a skillful game to me.
I feel like that's kind of like the same way too with like Teledad format. I felt like it was almost always the better player would win out of the two. You know, it's really hard to get a fluke victory over somebody in that kind of format. So I always thought like whoever like came out of that format was like one of the best players of the game, because like again it's really hard to hide unless you draw like triple malicious or something like that. That might be like the only reason why you lose. But other than that, it's really hard to like lose those kind of games, you know, assuming you're the better player. And those are the kind of formats I really love playing.
But see, even in like those certain times when even if you would draw a triple Mali, right? Like there's games in plants where you draw triple Tengu, you could still come through victorious. You know, one time Abdul drew triple Tengu and he normal summoned Tengu pass because he's trying to like fish for my play where I go normal summon Tengu, attack, pitch max C, because that's like a typical play to really like accelerate your turn in order to get 2 draws by crashing Tengus. But I crashed my Tengu on declaration. I use max C, and you know what I'm saying. I summoned my Tengu. I'm like, wow, you drew both. You know, like there's opportunities where you can use like disadvantages like this to your advantage. Where like because even though like it's not a one turn game, right? Like you're not dying in one turn. Like unless like I guess your opponent has like the absolute stones in Teledad format. I don't really know. I didn't play that format, but at a level higher than like super casual. But yeah, like there's more turns and there's more opportunity to come back and to like actually outplay your opponent.
We've definitely seen situations where like, you know, drawing like the card you don't want to draw, like you can turn it into like a positive. Like for example, like if I like Droll and Lockbird, like a Salomon Great deck, so it's already advantageous at that point to already have the field spell in your hand, because you can still like combo off.
Yeah, you just play around it.
That, or if you just draw an opening turn, but you're going second and you drop a Phantasmi, it's like, well, I know immediately the card that I'm sending back to my deck, and it's essentially a pot of greed at that point. Like, you know exactly what you're throwing back to your deck at that point. You're throwing the Sanctuary back because you want to search it instead. Yeah, it's just you know, like it's like they say, like, you know, you may not be able to get like the best hand, but you got to play with what you've got, and even playing out of bad hands is entirely possible, like even in like the worst of formats. But again, it's how do you utilize it? And you know, everyone has their own way of doing it, and it can be tricky to do it sometimes. But like, you know, the best players have been able to figure out how to play out of like the worst hands possible. I mean, it gets. I mean, of course, it gets a little tricky here and there, but again, like it's been done, because like when I told you like the triples when Triple Tengu was opened up, Billy Brake did it in his finals in Columbus.
Oh yeah, the YCS finals, but he crazy, and it was on a feature match finals, as well.
That's why
crazy.
So, but he won the finals because even despite having the Triple Tengu, which was crazy, and like all of us were just flabbergasted. And like, how did he win that having Triple Tengu in his hand? Like, I remember like being there at the event and just seeing him, like, oh my god, like I can't believe he pulled that out of his ass.
Yeah, it's like those were the times when like Yu-Gi-Oh was like more of like a sandbox
a little
game.
Bit more
of like a sandbox and do what you got. And we don't have to talk about the garbage like of what Yu-Gi-Oh kind of has like kind of been. Well, it's not garbage. I still play it. I still love Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh fan. I play my Dragon Maid deck and I still have a blast. But it goes without saying this game still has
there
a lot
definitely
of flaws.
is, because you know it's shifted a bit, because I feel like even worse off, like players that aren't as good as me, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but you know, lesser players, like I feel like I have a much better chance of beating me than as opposed to, if we rewind the clock like 10 years ago, where like I'm playing against a lesser player, like I'm thinking, okay, I've got this, and I can pretty much say like, I've got this in the bag. I can't really say that now in today's format
because your game sense was like worth so much more back then. Like game sense in terms of like knowledge about like every single card that existed, because like lots of the decks back then were like, yeah, like there's your staple Book of Moon, there's your staple Torrential Tribute, there's your staple this, but there's so many like random cards, like let's say like Tiger King Wagyu or something like that. That card, like it's like a random tech card that you could just throw in your deck and you know, like kind of build a strategy around it throughout the game.
Yeah, like and nowadays I also feel like there are so many just like one card plays, just one card that can completely like turn the entire like tide of a match of a game, because like I can like be just beating my opponent with like a +6 or +7, but all of a sudden if they play that like that one floodgate card, like for instance if I'm playing Strikers and they all of a sudden like top deck the Secret Village of Spellcasters, like well there goes like 8-9 of my cards and I can't play the game anymore just because they top deck that one card. And that situation really didn't happen way back when. Like they didn't have that. There's like one power card that would completely turn the whole entire tide of the game, like despite the fact that you're down like 3 or 4 cards.
Well, actually, I feel like back then it was much more prevalent where that would happen. Like for example, and like sorry, I keep reflecting the plant format, but like this is like the only legacy format that I'm really like I would consider like I've mastered. But like let's say Dark Hole, Pot of Avarice. These are both like Scapegoats, also a very good card to like turn the game around. Like top deck Gorse, top deck BLS. You know, there's lots of like comeback opportunity. I feel like that's totally a good thing. You know, like I think that floodgates are good for Yu-Gi-Oh. I think that limiting what your opponent's able to do because of their deck building choices is definitely like a good thing, you know? Like let's say against Dragon Link, that deck is literally 100%, I mean 90% gas and like 10% defensive cards versus like the mirror match or like the other combo decks. Where they would lose to a single floodgate and you just got punished for not building your deck to be versatile, to be targeting every matchup instead of rather than, you know, I win the roll or I built my deck for the mirror.
So go ahead, sorry.
So I feel like, so I was just going to say, so I feel like, you know, cards like Mystic Mind, like even though, like you could complain about Mystic Mind being an annoying card, but you kind of have to say that, you know, if you weren't prepared for it, then don't complain about it. If you were prepared for it and you didn't draw your L, then sure, you know, like that's unfortunate. But you can't say, oh, Mystic Mind is so broken, and then completely being ignorant towards that and not main decking back row removal or some kind of way to defeat it. Because we've had so
many people like just immediately scoop the second they see a Mystic Mind because they don't have any at all main deck outs to deal with the card, and it's unfortunate. But I mean, it's a card that's part of the game, and somewhere along the line you could see it. I mean, we've had formats where like Strikers would main like Triple Mind, or like it was like a side deck card option just because it would shut off everything on your opponent, so that way you can actually like make a move.
And they exactly
that. We've seen Mystic Mind like just be like one of the biggest side deck cards ever, just because it could shut everything off, and then you as the user can decide when it was going to shut off, just by matching up with monsters in the end phase.
I think in order for floodgates to be like good again, I think that True Draco should regain its power. Like if True Draco was like a deck this format, not only would it have like lots of favorable matchups versus like the actual combo decks, like for example, like versus VFD, like sick VFD dude, like tribute my trap and it's gone. But like with a deck like Draco in the format, it really like limits the ceiling of what some of the strategies are capable of, you know, with like actual floodgates and actual like control. Because like if you argue that a combo format is good for Yu-Gi-Oh, then like, you know, which I did argue about with Wei Li. Oh, that was a very intense argument, but like not like bad argument. It was more of a discussion. But you know, it's like, we don't have to talk about that.
Well, just think of it this way: like when Max C was around, we would play decks that, like, while like we could like push, like we could do so many special summons and whatnot, but we could play decks where like we could stop at like maybe like one extra special summon after it got played and just kind of sit on it and be at least in like a decent comfortable position. Like, for example, like we play BA, if I like special like one BA, like a graph, and like put another BA on board, and then like I got max seed here, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'll just go to Dante. Maybe I'll give you one more card and I can pass, and I'm in a position where I can defend myself and going to the next one. So, if you have like maybe like some of the top decks like be control decks, it might automatically like slow down the format because we're in like a kind of like a floodgate format. This is what you have to do to get by me, and if you can't get by me, like you're screwed. So you have to play cards to kind of to offset that. Maybe take like the ceiling down, as you said, to help like combat like the counters. Like, for example, like you don't play MST is not really a combo card for majority of decks, but you might have to play it to take care of the.
In order to have answers for the certain, you could have like the same argument where you, it's like, oh, but you need, like, if you say that you need to play hand traps for the combo decks, then you also need back row removal versus the back row decks. But the entire difference between that is that against the back row deck, like, for example, against Eldritch, for instance, like if I'm trying to play around the Ice Dragon's prison with Dragon Maids, like I could just summon my chamber, search my tidying, which is like a compulse, and then like I could set 2 cards and then pass right back. Like I'm not dying that turn and I'm not losing to these cards. But like for VFD, like, okay, I drew my hand. It's like, all right, I can't use any of my monsters, so I'll pass to you, and you know what I'm saying, and just like hope I don't die.
Which, oh man, I mean, holy heck, man! So, what do we have? Any sneak peeks for what's going to come out on your channel very soon?
Right now it's been like pretty dry with what I've been posting, just because like I've been going through some life stuff lately. Like I lost an important member of my family not too long ago, my aunt. Yeah. So it's been like kind of hard for us to, kind of hard for me to just sit in front of in front of my phone and, you know what I'm saying, try to be over eccentric and happy when I'm like really not, like that's why like I've attempted, like even like last time I posted was like a week ago, but like there has been opportunities where I'm like, yo, I should post a video, just make sure everyone's like, just staying in touch, see if I could, just try to spread the happiness. But like lots of times where I just sit in front of the camera and I just don't feel that true excitement and feeling and happiness that I want to share with on my channel, so I use like in opportunities like these, like which I have had before, where I took like a 2-week break kind of thing. So yeah, like there has been opportunities where I try to sit in front of the camera. Like I had a few ideas, but because of my kind of negative mindset, it kind of doesn't go the way I want it to, and I kind of like just kind of scrap the idea. So for the near future, I have no clue. Just maybe short Yu-Gi-Oh videos. I've been wanting to like make like strategy type of videos as well, but the problem with that is that like my channel is not a strategy channel. People aren't subscribed to me in order for my input on the game. They subscribe to me because they're interested in my jokes and my you know what I'm saying. So despite that, what else do I have going for me? Like I'm planning on dropping merch in the near future, like some kind of like I've always been into clothing. Like I love dressing up. I love streetwear culture. I love all that type of stuff. So I even had like plans on opening my own brand with a friend not too long ago. Like we were working on it for a few months, and it kind of like fell off at the moment, just because like right now it's been super slow with like COVID and everything. We need money to invest into it. So in terms of merch, I feel like it's going to be like that starting point for me to actually learn about like things like this, like learn about manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be like an interesting experience, but also like it's a way to share my art, That's what I really love. I really love art. I really love electronic music. I really love like the hyperpop type of movement. I like I feel like there's so much beyond, like there's a lot like a lot under the surface that a lot of people don't really know about me. But like I would say I'm like a very artistically driven type of person, you know? Like something like this would be very, very important to me. You know, if I see someone that's wearing my art, like a Yu-Gi-Oh event, for instance, like that would mean a lot to me, because that would mean that I had some kind of impact on someone's artistic values. And you know, like the world's not built for like artists. Like I wouldn't say like I'm an artist, but I'm more of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, sure, I'll call myself an artist, because artists can really entail to anything. You know, you don't have to be a good drawer or a good actor to make art. Art can be anything. I can make it like maybe my art was inspired by my amazing Yu-Gi-Oh deck building skills. You know, that's an art of its own. You know, like I play like this card because, and you know, you just like fall into this zone where this is what you think about, and this is what you value, and this is what you kind of, it becomes like a part of you. The Dragon Maid deck that I like continue to develop, it's like really become like a part of me. And I like, there's so many things I continue to learn about that deck and continue discovering that really like drives my passion for this game. And like, for example, like music in this, like what I really love about music, like electronic type of music, is that it really drives my passion in terms of like the musical type of side of me, where you know, like these feelings and these ideas are so abstract, because I like to listen to it's a little weird, I would say, the music I listen to, but this abstract concept that hasn't been really done before. And
well, I mean,
I just get
inspired by that,
like
an expression of whoever's like making it. You don't have to necessarily like be good at what you're doing per se. Like for example, I'm a terrible artist. Like I can't draw at all for anything like that. But you know, but I could like draw something that's just like really an expression of me, and then you know that could be like worth something to someone. You know, just to, like, you know, these videos, for example. This is your art. This is like an expression of you. This is your portrayal of like what you see in like the real life Yu-Gi-Oh world. Like you can anticipate it as that. So man, like, you know, you don't have to discredit yourself or anything like that just because you may not say like you're, you know, that skilled per se. You know, it's artists can be kind of subjective in a sense. You know, like this is kind of like my art, this podcast. This is the way I kind of portray myself and put myself out to everybody. You know, I try to put this in a professional light, and everyone kind of express themselves the way they want to when they're on this podcast. So, you know, it's really subjective in that case, and you can really express yourself in the way that you want to, man. So like if like these videos and like the fashion is how you want to do it, man, like have at her, man. That's how you're doing it.
I feel like with when I get that drive that I you know, that I would say like I have like two personalities, like, because like I feel like there's like this driven self, and there's more of like this kind of other side of me that lots of people don't really like I don't really tell people about, like where like I'm just like another like depressed kid, you know, sometimes. But other times like people would recognize me as one of the most like outgoing people they know. But I think it's important to acknowledge that other people can be a lot more than what meets the surface, you know.
Absolutely,
that. I mean,
that's kind of a reason why I have this podcast too. It's like, you know, let's talk to the real Milano. Let's talk to the real Milano here. Let's talk to who you really are. It's like, is that who you really are like in real life when you're in your videos, or is that like just, you know, is that like just a stage? Is that a persona? That kind of thing, you know? And you get to know the real person. That's why I have these podcasts. You know, I really, really want to know you better outside of, you know, the fun little trash talk that you had with Dominic before you played him at that regionals, you know, because that's like really like the only real interaction I had with you, like outside of like having this podcast.
Yeah, yo, it's really weird how we never like ever talked. Like the thing is, you may have not known me, but I've known you for a long time. Like I've seen your face like at plenty of like older events, at like Card Masters, for example. I feel like I've seen you at Card Masters. Like I've known of you for longer than you've known of me, for sure. Where was I getting at that? But what were we just...
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I went to Card Masters for like several years, like from I think like mid 2000s. So I think it was like 2005, and I think I went there for like 2-3 years, like on and off. So I was like, I'd be around like playing some of the bigger events there, or just like playing for fun kind of thing.
Right. So what I was saying is it's crazy how like we've never really had that interaction. Whereas like most of the other people in the Toronto community, like I've had like solid interactions with, and I would say like I'm outgoing enough to like just talk to like anybody I just feel like talking to. Like anytime I play an opponent, first thing I say is like a regional, yo, what's up, man? My name's Milano, nice to meet you. Where you from?
Yeah, well, I mean,
you know. But it's crazy how we just never had that
it's
opportunity.
So weird, but like it's funny because like I've had this like with so many people before, and it wasn't until like I would actually like play somebody or get paired to them in a regional or an event where I'd finally get to sit down and like say, finally I can like have a conversation with you like as we play or like before we play or whatever. Depends on like how much they actually want to talk like during the game. But it's finally nice to, you know, like we can sit down and finally talk with each other, even though like we've seen each other around and we've known each other for a while, but never actually like got to sit down and finally talk to each other for it. Man, Milano, man, thank you so much, man, for coming on to my podcast, man. I love the stuff that you do on YouTube. It makes me laugh all the time when I watch your videos, especially the chess one. I'm not going to forget that one for a while, man.
That's my personal favorite that I made, man. Like I feel like not only the synergy between me and Abdul in that video, but the whole concept was so perfect. If I had more opportunities to like see my friends, like Abdul's from Scarborough, so he's like an hour drive from me. We get to like to chill maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks or something. But you know, with the lockdown happening now, it's like definitely non-existent. But with when locals opens again, there's gonna be so much opportunities to continue like this it's going to be so much bigger and better, you know, when locals opens up again. But what was I going to say? Do I have room for shoutouts? Because I have probably, like, I don't have a list, but I just want to say thank you to, like, 100 billion people. Because, like, even though I say, like, my once in a while thank you on Facebook, you know, like, I got to, like, really acknowledge. Like, I remember this time I lost my Orcust deck at, so pretty much I had a maxed out Orcust deck at the time where Dylan Fricker was going to Halifax. This was his last event. I came late to the event. I didn't even get to play. And I pretty much had my Orcust deck, which ended up being lost at that event. Someone brought it into the counter. Shout out to Assad. He's a real one. And then Dolly's ended up losing track of it. So I ended up losing my deck. And at that point, I was so demotivated. I was 100% about to quit the game until, like, my friend Mark, shout out to Mark Gill. He's, like, probably, like, one of my closest friends to the game. I've known him for so long. He went out of his way to try to provide me with like the cards that I was missing and like tried to fix it and tried to get me back into the game. So huge shout out goes to him. I'm not every shout out will be that long. Just want to say just quick times because I legit would not be playing without him. I legit would not be playing like that event. Like I didn't even play in that event, but that would have been 1,000% my last time at a Yu-Gi-Oh event if you know what I'm saying, because that's heartbreaking losing like I had the deck almost max rarity, you know, it's like it hurts. But anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to continue talking. So obviously shout out to the Toronto Yu-Gi-Oh family. I love all my Toronto friends, you know what I'm saying? Made so many great friendships through this game. Shout out to the GN group chat, shout out to the Scum group chat, shout out to the 401 group chat, shout out to Ray, shout out to Steven, shout out to you for bringing me on. Man. Thank you for bringing me on, by the way. Absolutely, this is my first time on a podcast. I hope I didn't do too bad.
Bro. As long as you relaxed and you had fun.
But yeah, no, I definitely had a blast. It kind of like went by way too fast. Like I can't believe we're like almost like an hour and 30 in. That's crazy. Yeah, but in terms of shoutouts, yeah, I think I'm good. But everyone knows who they are, who's had an impact on me, my mental health, my channel, you know what I'm saying? I just want to say shout out to you guys so much. Like I really, really, really value you guys a lot in my life. Like, and like the Yu-Gi-Oh community has done so much for me. Like, at like my lowest points in my life, like I feel like surprisingly enough, my Yu-Gi-Oh friends were the ones that really stuck by me and were really willing to be there for me. So I'm ever so thankful.
Yeah, man. Like I know like a lot of.
Shout out to
you know, I had a lot of people like tell me good things about you, man. Like Ruggles, for example, he told me like you're an absolute sweetheart, man. And like,
oh my gosh, how do I forget? Oh, I'm such an idiot. Yo, man, when I was starting my YouTube channel, okay, quickly, sorry, I don't want to drag this on forever, but the way I first got in contact, like first time I communicated with Ruggles, Ryan, Gannon, who is also one of our friends in the Toronto group chat. He's like, yo, Gannon, if you're listening to this, bro, I miss you so much. But anyways, so Gannon invited Ruggles to the group chat, like our Game Nation Team B group chat. It's not the official Game Nation one, but it's just like our friends in this group. And he was luckily enough for us, because you know what I'm saying, he joined it. And I just asked him a question. I just messaged him like this random question. I was like, yo, what do you think about this in terms of my YouTube channel? And he gave me paragraphs, legit, like probably took him like 20 minutes to answer that question in the amount of detail that he did. And I would say for like 100%, like he has done so much for the growth of my YouTube channel and helped me so much in terms of the knowledge that I gained from all this type of stuff. Like huge shout out goes out to Ruggles.
Ruggles has been an absolutely invaluable resource for me.
Such a great guy, such an intellectual guy. Like if you guys like are not watching his YouTube videos, like you guys are really missing out.
So wonderful.
Really missing out.
I love them. It's like watching a movie.
Like every time a Ruggles video comes up, like on my feed, it is like it's like I don't watch Yu-Gi-Oh videos too much. Like I kind of just like stick to like mostly the people I know and I'm friends with because I love seeing them and stuff like that. But Ruggles' videos like were one of those Yu-Gi-Oh videos where I just like, you know, I just stop what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, time to, you know what I'm saying, grab a snack, grab my drink, and it's time to watch this.
So fun to watch. And again, like I love his video production. It's so beautiful, man. And I love it, man.
So high quality.
But man, amazing. Like, you know, I hope you keep well, man. And you know, I hope that you keep doing like more stuff on your videos, man, because they make me laugh. I love watching them. And like again, like I know I've been told by other people that you've been like you're a wonderful person, man. So I'm really glad that I got to have you on my podcast.
Yo, it's my greatest pleasure.
No problem, man. That is Milano the Duelist, man. He is probably one of the funniest Yu-Gi tubers out there with his little skits, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh vines. Joining me on the podcast. All links will be described in the below, man. Milano, man, you have yourself a wonderful night. Thank you.